Today I'll be Duracoating a few items, and you can see that I've already done my AR15. I've been shooting this Duracoated AR15 for a while. I was trying to go for the US Marines Woodland Digital MARPAT back here, and this is actually the a proper top right here, and this is part of the ILBE backpack. This is the radio pouch. You can see that the two almost match up, and this is nowhere near, but it actually does a pretty good job. It's just difficult to get the colors to align just by guessing, looking at the Laquer weaponry catalog, and nobody that I've seen has a good list of what colors work to actually make this this camouflage happen. So maybe someday I'll try again, try some different colors, see what I can do, but for now it actually works pretty darn well. This is the actual Duracoat product. I believe this is an 8-ounce bottle, and these three right here are 4-ounce bottles. This right here is the hardener. It's a two-part process. It's kind of like an epoxy, and this is the main color that we'll be using with some fixes. This is what they call Tactical Coyote Brown, and it is very light. One thing that really annoys me with accessories and all the different parts out there right now is that pretty much anything can be called Tactical Coyote Brown or Coyote Tan. It's all the same stuff, but the colors just range all over the place. This is supposed to be Coyote. Some of this stuff on here is supposed to be Coyote. And nothing matches up at all. And this is really, really light. So I'm gonna have to darken it up a little bit with the brown. I'll show you that. But this is the actual product that we'll be working with. To apply it, I'll be using an airbrush here. This is just a nice crafts. I think it's Pasha is the name of the company that makes this. It's just a nice airbrush, hooks up to an air compressor, and has a couple different size tips for different flow rates and different kind of sizes. We will need some measuring spoons in order to measure out the product that we'll be applying, and then everything goes in the jars. To clean up afterward, well, this is for cleaning up beforehand. Brake parts cleaner. I need to get oil off everything, and then I'll be using Laquer Thinner to clean everything up later, because this stuff is tough and it requires a really, really nasty solvent to get everything clean later. Powering the airbrush is something that's a little bit more heavy duty than what's needed. This is a Dayton speed air compressor, and it's a kind of a commercial model, pretty heavy duty, but it's gonna do the job just great. In order to make sure that the high pressure that this thing can generate doesn't explode the airbrush and all of its little parts, I have a regulator. So this should regulate everything to, I think it's supposed to be 15 pounds per square inch. I'll have to go back and check, but this is already set up so it'll work properly. And finally, since we're working with nasty aerosol chemicals, how about some safety? Yeah, that should pretty much cover it. Oh yeah, one last piece of equipment. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my silencer here and I'm going to hose it down with some brake cleaner just to get any oils that might be on it off. Tactical Coyote Brown is too light for me. Woodland Brown is too dark. So I'm going to mix these two together, and I'll just do a half and half on this like I have been doing on the rest of the project, and that'll be my base coat. I'll be starting right here. This is a spot that I had covered by tape when I first did the Duracoat on this. This is under my gas block, which is kind of a two-parter here. So I'm just going to touch this up a little bit, get rid of that shine. The really nice thing about using an airbrush like this is that you can see it's pretty precise. Even though I've painted all this stuff with different colors like green and whatever, it's really not being affected. I'm able to point right at what I want to paint. The next spot I want to do is this sling attachment. I added that after the fact, so I just want to touch it up a little bit. And again, I don't want to screw up the other paint job I have going on around there. So I'll have to get in pretty close and make sure I'm not spraying anything I don't want to. Alright, so that's one coat down on this, and I'm just going to leave it alone for now. I keep my coats nice and light, even if I see a little shine still coming through. One of the ways you can help keep this stuff very flat, not shiny at all, is if you don't get too thick with each coat. Now it's time to add some pattern, and one of the things that I figured out pretty quickly is that you can make gigantic patterns like this one, and it's just a huge pain to try to wrap it around an object like this. Much easier to just take a couple small ones, and then you can combine these in different ways. You can just spray this one down, come in, put this next to it, all kinds of funky angles, and you can get some really interesting designs that way. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how this has come out so far. We have some decent coverage with the woodland brown. I have some on the front here to kind of break up the shape of this circle. And before I move on to the green, one of the things that really sells this is if I take some very kind of high frequency, little tiny single dots and start spreading them around. I'll show you what that looks like. You can see how that breaks up the shapes quite a bit. It's kind of like anti-aliasing. Gives them kind of soft edges. And this may look a little weird right now, but once we get the green and the lighter tan in place, this is going to look pretty good. And here it is with some green. You can see that's starting to break up nicely. Now we'll get some light splatters on here, and it should end up pretty much the same as the AR15. So here's the finished product. You can see how that light tan really breaks this thing up. And it's going to mesh pretty well with this. Even though I got that base tan wrong, you can see that it's darker than the base tan I had on here. And one thing to note, you see how light this tan color is right here? It's considerably lighter than the tan on this this box here. That is Tactical Coyote Brown. So it's one thing to keep in mind when you're shopping for colors from Laquer Weaponry. Whatever color you see on the website is probably going to end up a good deal lighter when you actually get it home and spray something with it. I put a little texture on the Magpul sling adapter, just kind of break up its shape a little bit, and that'll sit on the front rail of the rifle quite nicely. And this is all pretty much ready to go. It's going to take about 3 days to harden, I believe. I'll go back and check the literature. But yeah, after 3 days, this should be ready to rock, and everything's looking good.